I was born with the biggest curse any gym bro could have. Skinny fat. That's right, I was both high body fat and extremely low muscle mass, leading to people constantly going out of their way to ask me,
how can you be both skinny and fat at the same time, Will? How is that even possible? Like, pick your struggle.
I would always respond with something like, bro, I don't even know, like, I guess it's just my genetics. And while that's somewhat true, having a defeatist mindset and putting it all to your genetics won't help you cure this disease. Luckily, I worked out how to fix skinny fat and I'm now both heavier and leaner, and the same kids that will bully me for being skinny fat now ask me for training advice. So what is skinny fat?
Well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's when you have zero muscle mass, yet you still have accumulated fat around your tiny little shrimp bones. So it just gives off this awkward sort of estrogenic appearance.
Yeah, so essentially, there is no muscle mass to push through the fat layer that you have. So it ends up in you just looking like you've been smoothed over, like you're in low quality.
A little bean bag.
And this is personally what I had. And a lot of people with bad genetics do tend to have this, where they don't really have the genetics to naturally have tone and muscle. And then you get into your sort of later teens, because originally I was just skinny. And then I started getting to my later teens where I was drinking alcohol some nights, and then I was also eating more food. Your metabolism starts to slow down a bit. And then I started packing fat around my skinny frame. I had no muscle to make it look like I was kind of like beefy. I just looked skinny and fat.
I think this has only become prevalent in the new modern age diet. All of the processed foods, the excess amounts of sugar, the carbs is what's doing this.
The lack of protein too. I mean, unless you're actively trying to hit a good amount of protein, it's very hard to get your protein intake in.
So how exactly do we cure this disease? What was it called? Skinny fat disease, SFD. How do we cure SFD?
So if I was an SFD doctor, this is what I would prescribe you. Whatever you do not try to get shredded. Oh yeah, that sounds backwards, but don't try to get shredded. Don't try to get a six pack. You're not deserving of it yet. You need to bulk up. Because what you need to do here is you need to build the muscle first. And yes, you can build muscle when you're cutting weight in tiny amounts. But if you really want to pack on muscle and maximize those newbie gains, and let's say you've never trained before, you need to bulk first, okay? I'd be putting on 5 to 10 kilos first before you even think about cutting weight.
If you look at my transformation, the first time that I had my cut, I definitely did not have sufficient muscle mass to justify a cut. So I ended up, we can put the photos up, I ended up just looking super skimpy. Like, I had done all this work sort of in the gym, but it just wasn't enough to really look impressive when I cut.
Learn from our mistakes. I mean, I wish I had people like us begging me not to dry cut before I put on muscle first, because we both made the same mistake. I put on maybe 3 or 4 kilos, really nothing at all, and then I instantly, if someone was around, I'm like, yep, okay, time to get shredded, time to look like influencers. Buddy, if you're natural, don't try to get shredded. I mean, if you're on gear, fine, cool, you'll pack on a bunch of muscle straight away and you'll build muscle while cutting. But if you're natty, it's not gonna happen until you build that foundation first. So I'd be putting on anywhere from 5 to 10 kilos, or maybe even more, depending what your body fat level is. I'd be bulking until you get to, I'm gonna say 20% body fat, 18 to 20% body fat, right around where you start to lose your six pack. Once you hit that, start a very, very slow cut. Like, don't rush into it, because once again, if you're a natty, all that's going to do is you're just going to lose muscle and then you're going to be skinny fat again.
That was literally my biggest mistake. I just thought that a cut was like eating less calories. And because it's easy for me not to eat a shit ton of food, I just ate like nothing. I would fast until like 4 p.m. and have nowhere near the sufficient amount of protein. Like, I would just have no protein. I would just eat like breads and stuff. It's like, what the fuck?
If you're in your first year of lifting, when you're doing that cut, you shouldn't be losing any strength. If you're losing strength in the gym when you're cutting,
You're losing muscle.
right, in terms of the exercises, what sort of lifts should you be doing? What should the workout program look like? First, I'm going to plug the Spartan Protocol. I mean, all the exercises and workout programs are in there, everything you'll ever need, but I'm going to prescribe you something here. So when you're first starting out and you're skinny fat, you need to put on muscle and strength as quickly as possible. So lots of compound lifts, bench presses, deadlifts, squats. Compound lifts are going to work multiple muscles at the same time, because when you're first working out, your body is like an adaptation machine, okay? You have so much recovery points, you can get away with a lot when you first start out. So smash the muscles, do compound lifts, and really, really try to get stronger. When you're starting out, you can get stronger like literally every single session. Like, let's say you benched 70 for 5 reps on Monday. By Friday, you can probably do 70 for like 8 reps. It really is that quickly in the beginning. And if you're just sort of dorking around, you're not really actually increasing the weight, you're not going to put on strength, which means you're not going to put on size.
That would be my number one tip on a bulk. If you really want to put on size, you must go into the gym with intent. You train with intent and you progress your lifts every time. You try to lift as heavy as possible. Try to push more weight every single session. It's called progressive overload. That's literally how you get bigger. But such little people do this. Like, it's such common knowledge, yet everyone sort of just goes into the gym with no intent, and then they spend years just doing nothing, gaining no muscle because they're not even getting stronger. That is literally the whole point of the gym.
To emphasize how important this first bulking phase is when you lift, for my first year of lifting, my bench press went from 40 kilos to 90. So that was a 50 kilo difference in my bench press in 1 year. After I hit that 90 kilos in my first year, it took me an extra 2 years to get another 15 kilos onto my bench press. That's because the progress is so quick at the beginning, especially if you're bulking and you're doing it correctly. And if you're skinny fat, once again, you're just lacking muscle. Forget about the whole body fat percentage. Like, you could be 10%, you could be 20% body fat. The fact of the matter is, you just don't have any muscle mass. So you need to put that on as quickly as possible, because you could stay the same body fat, but if you just had some muscle mass on the frame, you'd actually look decent. Like, you'd look bulky rather than skinny fat. For reference, I am 6 foot, and when I was skinny fat, I was probably around 18 to 20% body fat at 70 kilos flat. So that can sort of give you an idea of, are you victim weight while still looking chubby? So we've got the diet portion covered. I told you to bulk and don't cut until you're truly ready to cut. And then I've given you an idea of what sort of workout program you should be on. So then what can you expect if you just implement these things? So you should really do it in phases. The first big phase is obviously that bulk. That could be anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. You could be bulking for a year, depending on how quickly you're doing it. Then you'll want to cut for a little bit less time, like 4, 5, maybe even 6 months. Because if you want to be heavier in the long run, which means you have more muscle mass because muscle has weight, okay, you want to be bulking for a larger portion of time than you want to be cutting. So let's say you might bulk for 12 months, cut for 6 months. Then you want to make the bulking and cutting cycles a little bit shorter, because you're not going to be putting on muscle as quickly and you're going to be more prone to putting on fat. The first bulk is the most important, and the first cut is where you're going to strip off that fat and you're going to look pretty good afterwards. And then essentially for like the rest of your lifting career, it's going to be bulk, cut, bulk, cut, bulk, cut. That's how it's done.
I think being skinny fat is like the worst state that you could be in, because you actually do look alright if you're skinny and you're somewhat tall. Like, at least you look somewhat athletic if you're like sub 10% body fat and you're skinny. And then on the other end, if you're bulky, you have a lot of fat on you, but you're high in muscle mass, that also does look alright. You know, you're the stockier sort of NRL player or footy player, whatever it might be. But when you have none of these things, when you're fat and skinny at the same time, which is literally what I was, this was due to eating processed foods and KFC after work every day. It just looked fucking terrible, and my entire life collapsed. Not only was I suffering from a lot of mental issues, the treatment I was getting from others was just like essentially
Dog shit.
Like, it was night and day. Like, this is like not talked about a lot in the fitness community. Just how much it will improve your life getting in shape, just the way you're treated by other people, because
we're just status seeking people.
Yeah.
You literally cannot command respect when you look like shit. Yeah. It's literally impossible. You can try like speak up in a room of crowded people and no one's even gonna like bat an eye at you. You're invisible, really.
I'll actually do an example right now, like a story from today. Back when I was skinny fat, and just in terms of girls, I would like have to approach like fucking so many girls to get like some good results. Like, that was literally what I would do. I just stroll and ask for like numbers and shit. Now I literally get approached from other girls. Like, I'm the same person, I just have muscle mass. And the thing is, it wasn't actually hard to make this transformation. It was literally just having the right information. That's all it is. It's a lack of information. However, I bet you know you're skinny fat and you have the information, you just haven't implemented it. Hence why you're literally sitting there right now with a rib cage but a gut as well. That is literally why you're sitting there. So if you do want the implementation and you need someone to guide you through it step by step and literally command results out of you, you can go down in the description, book a call with us and we'll sort you out. Or you can just join the Spartan Society for absolutely free. It's growing rapidly every single day. We're seeing a lot of great results. We've already made heaps of transformation so far. So like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.